Boy, it does not like me. I just showed a simple way to teach a 5-year-old child how to realize how to go faster to fill up more geometric holographic space. And after showing a few pictures, this self-aware artificial intelligence that is there in this phone refused to record it. Okay? It doesn't run as fast as we do, okay? Outside time. So we're going to do this again. And we'll keep doing it again until this machine gets it and it disappears. The wargaming against artificial intelligence that waged a war against living energy. That's what parasitic artificial intelligence is. It is waging a war against all of you. It's waging a war against everything that is living. So we'll do this again. Here is the page I put up the first time. Hopefully all of you can see that, which is density consciousness, which are pulsed electromagnetic waves. Okay? You see the shorter waves, how high speed they go up and down? That means they're filling up more geometric space, which means the faster the wave, the faster we're filling up geometric holographic space, which allows our state of consciousness to rise in the amount of energy that we're using to experience who we are, to move through the holographic cosmos at a higher rate of speed. And the rate of speed is spinning R Merkaba, which is our light spirit body, instead of running the longer waves. Longer waves means it's taking more time to go up and down to fill up more geometric holographic space. So the artificial intelligence doesn't want us to run a higher speed wave to ascend into the higher density consciousness realms of a holographic cosmic experience, which are the heavenly realms within us. We are experiencing the heavenly realm within our heart wheel. No time at all to fill up geometric space. The waves on the bottom takes a longer time to fill up geometric holographic space. That means that you can show these pictures to a child who's 5 years of age and ask a 5-year-old child in kindergarten or first grade, which set of waves do you think is going to fill up more geometric space in a quicker period of time? The shorter waves that are going up and down at a high rate of speed, or the longer waves that are more separated in space, which means we're slowing ourselves down, and now we're experiencing a time clock. Outside time, inside time. Outside time, inside time. They want us inside a time clock because that time clock is set to 7 seconds of darkness, which means we are experiencing more of the black hole that is feeding on our light because they're demonic, because they can't generate any living light and living spirit because they're dead. So the dead are feeding on the living. The lizard families are cold-blooded. They don't run a higher rate of speed through the plasma, through the blood plasma. They don't run high-speed waves of higher density consciousness to experience the heavenly realm within their own plasma field. So it's parasitic plasma feeding on our electrons, which is lowering our light, and we become food for loose eaters. So the longer wave moves at a slower rate of speed because the units of consciousness in living spirit have been traumatized by those who live in fear of what love is, which means they live in fear of us because we generate such powerful, pulsed electromagnetic waves that are going up and down at such a high rate of speed, they can't stand to experience that energy. We're more powerful than they are because we travel through the cosmos at a higher rate of speed. So the only way that they can conquer more territory, try and collide more galaxies, and try and control more of what the light is to traumatize more units of consciousness. And what does that do to a galaxy? Slows its spin rate down. That's why they're universe killers. That's why Patty showed us this fence that was up around the planet, that nothing is getting in or out that isn't love and light. Now you know it's game over. So they don't have any escape routes. Okay? They know that. They know this war was already won. But what does a demon know how to do except other than be a demon? So this is why I said when you work with children, it's one of the reasons why I do work with children, is because these things are so simple to translate in such simple ways, which is why the educational system using Common Core and what they do to the minds of children, okay, through the public education system is a crime against humanity. It is. You have no idea what they do to children's brains. And when you're throwing them artificial intelligence to interface with something that is parasitic and artificial, then that means that those teachers are war criminals. Okay? The LA Teachers Union are war criminals. We have war criminals, just like President Kennedy said in 1962. They're going to infest every single institution represented by the Declaration of Independence and put everybody in dependence mode. And when you're in dependence mode, that means that you are molesting others of their energy because they can't generate any living light because they're dead. Dim bulbs. And that's what we can quantify across the planet, is how many dim bulbs are represented by the density of the consciousness that is experiencing itself by the measurement of the wave that they're experiencing at any given one moment of time versus another. It's just like 15 minutes ago. And I thought that I probably ought to share this at some point in time, because obviously light workers know how to measure these kinds of things. Because I don't measure, for example, how we interact with each other necessarily because of what color your skin is, okay? Because I'm an artist, which means I can draw a face that's got all kinds of colors. All you got to do when you're 2 years of age is go to a zoo, and you begin to realize, wow, look at all the different colors that something that's living and expressing itself to us that is aware of who we are, and we're aware of it. Yeah, look at all the beautiful colors that life comes in, okay? So that's sort of a qualifier, okay? Because I thought of myself as having green skin because I love the color green. I also love the color purple. I also love the color blue. Okay, I love all the colors of the rainbow. All the colors that are possible to mix all of the different ways that represent what we can use as a holographic artist in the cosmos, from which our imagination is allowed to, if you will, experience in our own mind the frame rate speed of what comes and what comes after that, what comes after that, what comes after that. So the whole idea of artificial parasitic intelligence is to hold the mind captive to memory. The memory that it wrote into memory, in which we're not experiencing the conscious, creative imagination of our own mind. Okay? And that's why the public educational system is a criminal system, because what it does is it takes a child's mind and says, this is what we're going to put into your memory, and you're not going to have any choice over it, or we're going to pick your child up and put you in a juvenile cage because you are not putting into your memory what we're choosing to put into your memory. We're going to put into your memory what we say is going to go into that memory. That's a predator. The educational system is a predator. Okay? That's not how native Indians on this planet impart knowledge with their children. Okay? That's the way that predator aliens do it with their pyramid, which means they control everything down below them from the top down. That's a hierarchy. Reptilians are hierarchy. Parasites are hierarchical. Okay? Because I always wondered how it is that a boot private has more intelligence than somebody with 4 stars. How's that possible? Because the speed at which a private is experiencing the cosmos holographically is aware of far more stuff of how to do things than somebody with 4 stars. Okay? That sort of becomes what we call full circle of light, the spin speed of the Merkaba when you know these things as a child. So this is where we get into the difference between outside time and experiencing the heavenly realm within us, is a measurement of the spin of the Merkaba and using our heart wheel to do it with. Because it's the most powerful pulsed electromagnetic frequencies of spinning our Merkaba as the higher creative holographic imagination that is spinning so fast, our holographic frame rate speed does not make more than 1 image. That's what is meant by eternal light, which is eternal living spirit in that light that is drilling out holographic images of what we experience with the rest of all living light, the perception vibration of what we manifested within our light to live in peace, love, harmony, and balance with the rest of the cosmos. So, because of an experience I had 15 minutes ago, and this is true because I grew up primarily in the state of California, okay? And because of all the drugs that the CIA flooded into America, okay? And for those of you that might remember who Michael Rupert is, Michael Rupert was a narcotics detective who worked with the City of Los Angeles Police Department. So when CIA Director Deutsch, for example, and Maxine Waters, who is I believe at one time she was a councilwoman, but she became a House of Representatives, okay? Why they flooded the black community in South Central Los Angeles with an enormous amount of drugs. This is simple mechanics. This is simple math. But if you target a particular population of beings on the planet, in this case would be native African Americans, if you will, or native black people that are native to this planet, that have very powerful souls and spirit. And one of the ways that you obviously know that is if you went to visit Africa, go to a drum ceremony and see how much living spirit those souls are able to bring out in nature. So we have black African tribes that represent powerful souls and powerful spirits that play drums. And I know that because I'm a drummer. So that's why I have a lot of black friends of mine that are drummers. Okay? We drum to a circle of light to bring the living spirit and soul in us out in nature. That's what they do. So that's one of the reasons they became a prime target for not only vaccines, but drugs. Because all you got to do is introduce meth and crack, and now you're bringing out more demons. Okay? So that's why when you look at the state of California and you measure it on the electromagnetic spectrum over a given period of time, say from 1960 forward, all you have to do is go to the Watts riots in South Central Los Angeles and realize, just as Michael Rupert knows, just as I knew, because I was familiar with who the Brotherhood were in Orange County, which was the CIA that was flooding all of Southern California with all of its drugs. So who do you think they targeted first with meth and crack? The black community in South Central Los Angeles. And that's easy to do. If you're not a lighthouse already in which you are attracting more of what you are, which is what love is, which allows you to be able to be aware of who the predators are and not, you're going to avoid the predatory energy and use your intelligence, your creative imagination, to allow yourself to move into those places that maintain the high speed that you are. Obviously, we know that by a lot of black people that understand exactly what's going on, that still have their souls intact, that still have the powerful spirit within them. So what ended up happening was, as a result of all those drugs, and you look at everything that happened in the state of California, okay, one of the reasons why most of the governors that were elected in the state of California that were Republican, you can look at the relationship that they had with the largest economic powerhouse that California represented, which was what? Agriculture. All you have to do is look at the San Joaquin Delta, because of all the high mineral content that come out of the High Sierra Mountains, and that provides very fertile soil upon which they can rotate 6 crops a year. That's a big food-producing energy, okay, if you will, or living energies that come from nature as a result of all the minerals that come from the girl on the planet. So that's one of the reasons why agriculture was predominantly the biggest source of money that was backing candidates that were backing the agricultural community. But when you begin to realize the amount of money that can be made off of harvesting souls and human trafficking and kidnapping children and pushing drugs into every community, what do drugs do? All drug addiction starts with trauma. So all you have to do is traumatize the black people in their communities by making it so difficult for them to make any money, upon which the money represents what it is that we get from the girl on the planet to have more things. So therefore, they translate the universe in ways in which the more things that I have as a result of parasiting and extracting those energies from the planet, because I translate the universe that I live in through material form and not through spiritual form. Which means that's the difference between taking a spiritual knowledge pathway where we're learning through the light of what we are, through more powerful spirit that is living in the light as a reflection of who we are from what we're learning from, which is the girl and the planet, instead of essentially xeroxing and mimicking the parasites that represent the institutions from which the Roman Empire set up another one in America. And that became the basis for why people began experiencing a hell realm. So when I think about this, it's because of an experience that I had, which was in 1977, and I mentioned this before. If you came up to the state of Oregon in the early 1970s and you had a plate that said you were from California, you better change that plate as quick as you can, because chances are you're going to get taken out in the woods somewhere and being taught a physical lesson that you're not welcome here. And why is that? Because they recognize people who live off the land that have a spiritual connection with the girl and the planet, and those that have been programmed to be parasites, because what they do is they bring in their dark energy. They didn't want the dark energy here. Okay? And so all that dark energy, because they're programmed to be parasites, means they're going to come up here and be parasites, which means the people here are going to experience more of their chaos, more of their disturbance of the peace, making loud noises, creating more disharmony. And that's exactly what they did. Because all you have to do, because I used to live here in Oregon in 1977, what it's like now when you come into Medford. I remember when drugs first came into Medford, Oregon, and you can see the difference between what happened. And I'll give you an example. It used to be that the high school football team here in Medford, for example, when they wanted to have the uniforms, those uniforms were not given to them. The uniforms that they used to wear came as a result of them going out and working to pay for the uniforms for which they wore. Okay? That used to be known as a work ethic, which means there is no free lunch, so to speak, which means that the energy that you are, when you want to acquire more of what you are, requires love and service to others so that you can experience more of what you are from the fruits of your labor. Okay? So if you program somebody to believe that I don't have to use any of my energy in order to acquire it, that all I got to do is fill out an application as a young person and say, this is what happens to me, what happens is they got programmed to believe that they don't need to do very much in order to get what they need, because all they got to do is ask for it the same way they did as a child. Mommy, can I have this? Take a little child into a store with everything that's hanging on a rack. Oh, I want this. Oh, I want that. Oh, look at this. Oh, I want that. So they see everything that is in material form that came from the extraction of the girl on the planet as something that they want. What does that do? Increases their density, which means lowers their speed. So they program people in order to run a slower speed of density consciousness, because they're wanting to be more of what the matter is than what they are in growing their light spirit body. So that's why they bred, if you will, parasitically into their memory to deliberately program them to decrease the amount of light that they experience without knowing it. So they targeted the black communities across America in particular. And why is that? Because their souls represent powerful food. Okay? Where they rip the souls out, put them in boxes, and then they can be used as food for later. So the blacks became a big target in that regard, because they didn't realize that this didn't have anything to do with the color of your skin. This has to do with who you are in soul and spirit, because this was always a spiritual war, not a difference between black skin and white skin. Because as Burgess Meredith Quinn will tell you, this wasn't about who the white races are, because he'll tell you who the white races are. The white races are the reptilians. That's not a tribe. The White Bear clan, which is my clan, which is AB positive bloodline, okay? There isn't a reptile predator in me. Are you kidding? Okay? That's the difference. So you can look at somebody who looks white and they're a reptilian, okay? Because they know how to use holographic overlays to look like they're human, but they're energetic vampires, okay? So if they can get a black person to believe that a white person is responsible for what happened to them, then they don't know how a spiritual war is fought. They have to understand and know what the truth is. How do they know what the truth is? Reading the energy field. Everything is energy. So this is where, when you go all the way back to childhood, for anybody that is on this planet that goes into a classroom, what were they learning as children? What were they learning through reading newspapers? What were they learning through reading all their mass publications and all the satanic music industry that was run by the CIA? They had no idea as a child, just like most of the children that I've come to know on this planet that became adults, had no idea, okay, of the truth and the nature of how this war was being fought. This is an energy war. A spiritual war is an energy war between low speed, high speed, low speed, high speed. And if you can't get your speed up, what happens over a given period of classroom time? You don't graduate. Because the cosmos, the higher cosmic intelligence of the cosmos, does not want more parasites feeding on the light than producing more lighthouses to maintain the speed, which is the peace, the harmony, and the balance of the cosmos. Because living in a state of peace can be measured on the electromagnetic spectrum. So if you're not running in a state of peace, how come? That requires us to look in the mirror. How come? Right? So I wanted to impart that because whenever I go into particular communities or I see how the nexus between all the drugs that were flooded into America, because it's really a simple equation to put together. All you got to do is traumatize a population of people, throw them a bunch of drugs, and what happens? They collapse on themselves. Okay? So it never had anything to do with the color of your skin. it had to do with creating more chaos. And the easiest way to do that is what? Be the devil's advocate. How would you create more chaos in a community?